In the intricate world of human interaction, the spoken word is often the least reliable narrator of true intent. We live in a society governed by social politeness, where directness is frequently sacrificed for the sake of mystery, comfort, or self-protection. For many men, deciphering the silent vocabulary of women can feel like trying to read a complex manuscript in a language they never formally studied. Yet, the body rarely lies. While a woman might say she is just fine or busy, her physical presence, her micro-expressions, and her subconscious gestures tell a far more visceral story. There is a specific frequency of attraction, a vibration of lust and deep interest that many men miss simply because they are looking for a loud, verbal billboard when they should be looking for a quiet, physical whisper. Understanding women's body language isn't about manipulation or psychological hacking. It is about developing a heightened sense of empathy and observation. It is about recognizing when a woman is inviting you into her personal space or signaling a primal interest that her conscious words haven't caught up to yet. Men often miss these signs because they expect attraction to look like a Hollywood script, dramatic, overt, and impossible to ignore. In reality, the most potent signs of desire are small, repetitive, and deeply rooted in our evolutionary history as a species. To truly master this, one must stop listening only to the narrative and start observing the biological tells that occur when the limbic system takes over. One of the most fundamental yet overlooked signs of deep attraction is the concept of orientation and fronting. In a crowded room, a woman's attention might be pulled in a dozen different directions, but her body will subconsciously align itself with the person she is most drawn to. This doesn't just refer to her face, it includes her shoulders, her torso, and, most importantly, her feet. Humans are biologically programmed to point their feet toward what they want or where they want to go. If her feet are pointed directly at you, even when she is engaged in a conversation with someone else, she is mentally and physically tethered to you. This is a sign of open body language, a physical vulnerability that suggests she is comfortable letting you into her orbit. Conversely, if her body is angled away or her feet are pointed toward the exit, her mind has likely already left the building. This pointing is an ancient survival mechanism that now serves as a modern-day compass for romantic interest. Beyond orientation, the eyes are the most powerful transmitters of desire. While we often hear that eyes are the windows to the soul, in the context of lust, they are windows to the nervous system. When a woman looks at someone she finds incredibly attractive, her pupils will naturally dilate. This is an involuntary physiological response caused by a surge of dopamine and norepinephrine. While it is difficult to spot in a dark lounge, in a well-lit environment, those bedroom eyes are a literal biological marker of arousal. Furthermore, there is a specific pattern of looking known as the triangular gaze. A woman interested in more than just conversation will let her eyes wander from your eyes down to your lips and then back up. It's a subtle, almost imperceptible flick of the gaze that signals she is thinking about the physical sensation of kissing you. Men often miss this because they are too focused on maintaining respectful eye contact, failing to see the invitation hidden in the shifting movement of her pupils and the path her eyes take across their face. Then there is the behavior of preening. This is a classic biological signal used across the animal kingdom to indicate interest and readiness. When a woman is in the presence of someone who triggers a sense of lust, she will subconsciously try to highlight her most attractive features. She might run her fingers through her hair, adjust her jewelry, or smooth out her clothing. Specifically, watch for the exposure of the vulnerable parts of the body. Tilting the head to expose the neck is a massive sign of trust and attraction. The neck is a highly sensitive area, and exposing it is a way of saying that she feels safe enough to be vulnerable. Similarly, She might play with a necklace or touch her collarbone. These are self-soothing gestures that also serve to draw a man's attention to her feminine features. This behavior is often accompanied by a wrist flash, where she rests her hands in a way that the soft, sensitive skin of her inner wrists is visible to you, an ancient signal of openness and non-aggression that predates modern dating. One of the most misunderstood signals is accidental touch. In the early stages of attraction, a woman will often test the waters by initiating small, seemingly inconsequential physical contact. It might be a brush of the arm, a hand on the shoulder while laughing, or her knee bumping yours under a table. Men often dismiss these as accidents or mere friendliness. However, if these accidents happen more than once, they are rarely accidental. She is gauging your reaction, checking to see if you pull away or if you lean in. This is a subtle bridge being built between social interaction and physical intimacy. If a man misses these small bridges, he often misses the opportunity to cross them. The compliance test is a real part of social dynamics. By touching you lightly, she is seeing if you are electrically compatible. If you don't recoil and instead hold the space, the tension increases in a way that words cannot achieve. The voice is another physical manifestation of desire. When a woman is experiencing a sense of lust or deep attraction, her voice often drops in pitch. It becomes lower, huskier, and more melodic. This is a subconscious attempt to sound more intimate and seductive, effectively creating a soundproof bubble around the two of you. On the flip side, she might mirror your speech patterns or the rhythm of your movements. This is called isopraxis, or mirroring. If you lean back and she leans back, or if you take a sip of your drink and she does the same seconds later, she is in sync with you. Mirroring is a profound sign of rapport and biological alignment. It means her nervous system is literally mimicking yours, creating a shared experience that transcends the conversation. Another sign men frequently miss is the proximity shift. Most people have a personal bubble of about 18 inches to 3 feet. When we are with friends or colleagues, we respect this boundary. However, when lust is involved, that boundary becomes fluid. A woman who is attracted to you will find excuses to enter your personal space. She might lean in closer to hear you over the music, or she might stand just a few inches closer than is socially necessary. If you move slightly closer and she doesn't move back, the green light is glowing brightly. Men often fail to notice this because they are too worried about being intrusive, not realizing that the woman has already lowered the fence and is waiting for them to step inside. The lean is perhaps the most reliable indicator of interest. A woman who leans her torso toward you while you speak is literally leaning into the idea of you. The lip bite or lip lick is perhaps the most famous sign of lust. Yet it is often misinterpreted as simple nervousness. It isn't always a dramatic, cinematic gesture. Sometimes it's a quick swipe of the tongue across the lower lip or a slight pressure of the teeth on the lip. This is a dual-purpose signal. Physically, it draws attention to the mouth, which is a primary zone of intimacy. Psychologically, it's a sign of anticipation. Her body is preparing for physical contact, and the mouth is often the first place that tension manifests. Furthermore, look for displacement gestures. If a woman is holding a glass, a pen, or even the stem of a wine glass, and she is stroking it or toying with it rhythmically while looking at you, her subconscious mind is projecting her desire for physical touch onto the object. It is a sensory action that indicates she is in a tactile state of mind. The giggle and glance move is another key element. When a woman laughs at your jokes, even the ones that aren't particularly funny, and then immediately looks at you to see your reaction, she is seeking your validation. But if that laugh is accompanied by a slight toss of the head or a brief touch to her own chest, she is combining humor with a display of her silhouette. She wants you to see her at her most vibrant and alive. Men often take the laughter at face value, thinking they are just funny guys, without realizing the laughter is actually a vehicle for physical flirtation. This is often paired with a high blink rate. Studies show that when people are around someone they find highly attractive, or when they are feeling a sense of excitement, their blink rate increases. It's an involuntary reaction to physiological arousal. Men often miss these signs because they are waiting for a moment, a clear, undeniable signal like a verbal confession or a bold physical move. But lust in women is often a slow build, a symphony of small gestures that create a larger picture. If you only look at one instrument, you miss the music. You have to look at the cluster of behaviors. One sign, like touching her hair, could just be a habit. But touching her hair, while pointing her feet at you, while lowering her voice, while leaning into your personal space, that is a definitive statement of desire. The tragedy of the missed sign is that it often leads to a cycle of hesitation. The man doesn't see the signal, so he doesn't escalate. The woman perceives his lack of escalation as a lack of interest, so she begins to pull back to protect her ego. By the time the man realizes he might have had a chance, the window has closed. Expanding into the depth of the interaction, we must consider the alpha flush and the pacing of the breath. When a person enters a state of high arousal, the heart rate climbs and the body prepares for exertion. You may notice a slight reddening of the cheeks, the ears, or even the collarbone area. This vasocongestion is a biological response that signals she is genuinely stimulated by your presence. Alongside this, her breathing may become shallower or more rapid, often causing her chest to rise and fall in a more noticeable rhythm. These are signals that her body is operating in a hot state. Men who remain oblivious to these physiological changes often treat the interaction as a purely intellectual or platonic exchange, missing the underlying heat that she is broadcasting. A woman who is feeling lust will also engage in spatial management. This means she will actively work to remove obstacles between the two of you. If there is a menu, a candle, or a drink between you on the table, she might move it to the side. If she is sitting in a chair, she might pivot her entire body to clear the pathway to you. This is an invitation for you to move closer. It is her way of saying that the social boundaries are being dissolved in favor of something more intimate. Furthermore, she may use mirroring not just in posture but in tempo. If you take a sip of your drink, she takes one. If you lower your voice to a whisper, she does the same. This creates a vocal and physical bubble that shuts out the rest of the world. Let us look deeper into territorial markers. When a woman is attracted to a man, she often signals to the rest of the environment that he is her focus. She might place her hand on your arm when someone else approaches, or she might lean into you in a way that creates a unified silhouette. This is protective body language. She is claiming the space around you. If a man misses this, he might accidentally allow third parties to interrupt a moment that was reaching a peak of tension. Recognizing that she is gatekeeping the interaction is essential for maintaining the momentum of attraction. We must also talk about sensory focus and tactile transference. This is when a woman begins to stroke her own arm, her neck, or her jewelry while looking at you. Her brain is simulating the touch she desires from you. If she is running her thumb along her lower lip or tracing the line of her own jaw, she is effectively telling you where she wants your attention to be. It is a highly suggestive, albeit subconscious, mapping of her desire. To the untrained eye, it looks like a nervous habit. To the man who understands lust, it is a roadmap. The slow-release gaze is another sophisticated signal. This happens when a woman looks at you, and when the eye contact is broken, she lets her eyes linger for an extra second, trailing down your face or body before turning away. This trailing gaze is heavy with intent. It suggests that she is drinking you in. It is the opposite of the quick, nervous darting of eyes seen in purely social anxiety. The trailing gaze is deliberate, heavy-ended, and almost always indicative of a desire to see more of you. In professional or formal settings, these signs often become micro-signs. Since she cannot overtly flirt, she will use intensive listening. This involves leaning in with a tilted head, maintaining constant eye contact, and offering small, encouraging nods that keep you speaking. While it looks like she is just a great listener, the lust version involves her eyes dropping to your mouth during the pauses. She is using the professional context as a cover for her personal fascination. The man who misses this often thinks he is just giving a great presentation, unaware that he has already won her over on a much deeper level. Another subtle sign is muscle tonicity. When we are around someone we want to impress or someone who arouses us, our muscles naturally tense slightly to improve our posture and appearance. You might notice her sitting more upright, her stomach pulling in, or her legs crossing and uncrossing in a way that highlights their shape. This is the body presenting itself. If she was bored or disinterested, her muscles would be slack, her posture would be slumped, or she would be heavy in her seat. The lightness and tension in her movements suggest she is on and ready for interaction. The return to the anchor is a powerful confirmation. If she has to leave the conversation to speak to someone else, watch how she returns. Does she immediately find her way back to your side? Does she touch your back or arm to signal her return? If she re-anchors herself to you without hesitation, it proves that the previous signals weren't just a fluke of the moment. They are part of a sustained interest. She is choosing you over the other options in the room, time and time again. The parting touch is the final, definitive signal. When the evening or the conversation is ending, how does she say goodbye? A woman who is feeling a sense of lust will rarely settle for a quick wave. She will go for a lingering hug, a hand on the chest, or a squeeze of the hand that lasts just a heartbeat too long. This is her leaving a physical memory on you. She wants her touch to be the last thing you think about. Men often rush through these departures, not realizing that the long goodbye is an invitation to ask for a way to see her again. Ultimately, understanding these signals requires a shift from being a thinking man to an observing man. We are often so caught up in our own heads, worrying about what to say, how we look, or whether we are being too much, that we fail to see the wealth of information being provided to us. Lust is a biological imperative, and it creates a physical storm in the body that is nearly impossible to suppress entirely. The signs are there in the flare of a nostril, the dilation of a pupil, the tilt of a head, and the rhythmic stroking of a glass. When you begin to see these clusters, you no longer have to guess. You stop asking, "Is she into me?" and you start asking, "How should I respond?" This clarity changes the entire dynamic of dating. It removes the guesswork and replaces it with a confident, calibrated response. You become the man who gets it, the man who can read between the lines of social politeness and find the raw, human desire beneath. This is the secret to attraction that most men never learn, that the most important things are never said, only shown. To truly fill the space of a 4,000-word understanding, one must realize that these behaviors are not isolated. They are a continuous stream of data. The blink rate works with the lip bite. The fronting works with the proximity shift. The vocal drop works with the triangular gaze. When these signals are layered on top of each other, they create an undeniable atmosphere of attraction. It is like a radio station. If you are tuned to the right frequency, the music is crystal clear. If you aren't, all you hear is static. Most men live in the static. They hear the words, they see the smile, and they think, "She's friendly." They don't see the feet pointed at them. They don't notice the neck exposure, and they don't feel the pull of the proximity shift. By the time they realize something might have been there, the moment is gone. The woman has moved on, feeling that her invitations were ignored or that the man lacked the confidence to act. Learning this language is an act of respect. It shows that you are paying attention. It shows that you value her nonverbal communication as much as her verbal communication. It allows you to escalate the interaction in a way that feels natural and welcomed, rather than forced or intrusive. Because when a woman is showing you these signs, she is asking you to take the next step. She is providing the permission through her body language that she might not yet feel comfortable giving through her words. The modern man must become a student of the silent. He must look for the micro-touches on the arm. He must listen for the huskiness in the voice. He must observe the rhythmic fidgeting with jewelry. He must note the pupil dilation in the light. These are the markers of a woman who is not just interested, but who is experiencing the visceral pull of lust. In the end, the body language of lust is a gift. It is a bridge between two people that bypasses the complexities of modern social rules. It is a return to our primal roots, where attraction was simple, physical, and honest.